Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. I'll start by reading one of our. It is not righteousness that you turn, it is not piety. Piety is not that you turn your faces toward the east or the west, but piety is those who believe in Allah in the last day, and the angels and the book and the prophets, and give money in spite of love for it to relatives, the orphans, the poor, and the wayfarers, and the beggars, and the freeing of slaves, and perform the prayer, and pay the zakat, and fulfill their covenant when they make one, and are patient in adversity and affliction, and in the thick of fighting. Those are they who speak the truth, and they are those who are God-fearing. Yusuf Ali puts it like this: it is not righteousness that you turn your faces toward the east and the west, but righteousness is to believe in Allah and the last day, and the angels and the book and the messengers, to spend of your substance out of love for Him, for your kin, for orphans, for the needy, for the wayfarer, for those who ask, and for the ransom of slaves, to be steadfast in prayer, to practice regular charity, to fulfill the contracts which you have made, and to be firm and patient in pain, suffering, adversity, and throughout all periods of panic. Such are the people of truth, the God-fearing. It goes on to say in one of the footnotes, then come the Muslim virtues of firmness and patience. They are to persevere the dignity, or preserve the dignity of man with soul erect. 3 sets of circumstances are especially mentioned for this exercise of this virtue: bodily pain or suffering. Number 2, adversities or injuries of all kind, deserved or undeserved, and periods of public panic such as war, violence, and pestilence. I guess what we're living under now would be called pestilence. And then As-Sabiqun fil basa'i. Of course, Sabiqun are those who are patient, persevering, and steadfast. They're forbearing. Sabara, to be patient, to check, to tie, to contain. Basa is during adversity, distress, difficulty, and even poverty. Wahina ba'asi. That means ba'as, in the thick of fighting, extreme period. Dara is affliction, suffering, illness, and distress. The point that we're going back to one of our original ayahs is that there's a group of people that Allah wants to be patient during all periods of adversity, during periods of panic, during periods of trial and tribulation. And they're supposed to do this with a certain spirit, as Yusuf Ali was saying, with their soul or spirit erect. going to use a few words today to relate to our period right now. Delay, we know that we've talked about it and we'll mention it as we go. Delay is to take your time. When 9/11 first happened, some of the people were saying, man, this people did it, that people did it. And they had people that they had that was supposed to have been involved was still flying planes. I remember when I was a kid, 6 of the guys was flying planes, you know. So we told the people, in fact, it was Abdul Malik, he was saying, no, the Zionists did it, this, that, and the other. And I said, we'll take our time. And everybody was running there. Of course, the Zionists, the Americans did it, but they did it in conjunction with Saudi Arabia. The actors were Saudi, so delay means it gives you time for all this stuff together. Now, what I meant to say about this was, what's going on now may be a fire drill, but whatever it is, it's a global test. Whether initiated or non-initiated, but it's clearly a global test. Okay. There's elements of diversion and many other elements. So what we're going to do, there are certain things that are possible right now. Whatever it is, there's still a possibility for a global wake-up for us, for the people. Remember, we're going to research this. We're going to research it in detail. That's why we haven't claimed it's this or it's that or da-da-da-da. We haven't said that yet. We said, here's revelation, here's this, and here's that. But we haven't said, now, this is how all this is working. We haven't did that. Because that would go against our principle of delay. So we got to look at this from a religious position. Ramadan is coming up. They just had Easter, or Easter is it something? Whatever it was. Good Friday, all of them.
Good Friday, Easter, they just had all of them.
Yeah, they just went through it. Then Ramadan will be probably Thursday, something like that. From social science, we're going to look at it from a socio-scientific position. What is the behavior of people? When this thing happened, how did they act? What was their behavior pattern? We're looking at it, we've been looking at it from an economic point of view. How did the economy behave? We have to break it down too into more than one part. Okay, how did the economy behave? How much of it was engineered, right, by the system? And how much was the natural feeling of panic? See, in the old days, in the stock market and all that, they used to always call it a panic. The panic of 1838, the panic of 1893. They always, the panic of 1929, it's a panic, that's what they call it. The stock market crash was a panic. Because that's what people did. They panicked and they started selling. When they started selling, it went, just kept falling. Okay, the stock market did that for a couple of weeks, but then they did a few things and it stabilized. Then the things started going up. No matter how much bad news, they had bad news unemployment went from 6 million to 11 million. Now it's up to 20 years, 18, 17, 18 million people unemployed or more, something like that. Whatever it is, they just, and it ain't going nowhere. The thing is going up. Right in the middle of all of that bad news. What is it, 40,000 people dead now? Don't affect us. It ain't affecting. So, something is clear that somebody's manipulating that. Okay, but we're not going to put a thing on that till later. Why? We got to look at all the world, in every place in the world, from a political, from a religious point of view, psychological point of view. What was the effect of all of this on the psychology of the people in the world? How did it affect their behavior? And then the old adage, how much is manipulated? Right? And how much of it is natural? That's our job to do. Other people, when it says to be patient during all periods of panic, that's what we're doing. We're sitting back and we're going to research this. Why? Because part of our goal, remember, has always been to become the research engine of the Islamic movement during our period. That's been influence, direction, change. But to be, when you want to know about, if you want to know about the human, the black and the Islamic movement during the last 20 years, go back from 10 years back, you can just go to our As-Sabiqun and it'll give you the whole story. I mean, it's in detail. And when you read it, when I read them, it seems like some brainy ideologue type, professor type movement, you know what I mean? Wrote those. Definitely don't seem like I wrote them. I read them like, I read the things now and I'm just, it's like the first time, man, look what's going on. You know, I'm reading them like that now. And they're old. We have to do the same thing. Except, you got to remember now, we were always analyzing and always predicting it. And then. But now, this is a bigger arena that we're playing in. So we have to research this. We've been doing it from Jump Street. Study global behavior. Study regional behavior. Economy, psychology. Like Franklin Roosevelt said in 1932, when he became president, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. But that was 3 years after the panic. The panic was 1929. He was elected and he did a few things. First thing he did was repeal the prohibition. One of the first things we're going to suggest, repeal the drug laws. Let everybody, if they want, we're Muslim, we ain't saying for Muslim, but if people want to get high, let them get high. We said, man, that's cold-blooded, it'll be chaos. It ain't no chaos, it wasn't no chaos in alcohol, right? And guess what it'll do? Number one, it reduces, there's no excuse for the police state. We know all the statistics. 80% of all crime is drug related. That means 80% of the people in prison are there for drug related crimes. Right? 80%. Now this is the old statistic, but it might be higher than that now. So if we eliminate, of drugs, which the judges and all, a lot of them want to cut it back, the ones that's honest, we'll deal with it with advertisement and everything, right? Y'all may not remember, but it used to be, it was not Labor Day, but Memorial Day, it was an average of 25,000 people that would get killed. They would announce it on the radio. This was back in the 50s. And they didn't have that many cars on the road. But what would everybody do? They drank and drive. They had highways that was made, you know, one road this way, one road that way, and you just take one dip and you head on collisions. They were all deadly, right? And everybody drank and drive. On the weekend, you ask one of your relatives, where's your car? Well, I drove it off, went off the highway, run into a house, run into a field. It was all common because everybody drank and drive. They don't do that much anymore. Advertisement, designated drivers, all of that stuff. We can do the same thing with drugs, right? These people can sell ice to Eskimos. Psychology, the best psychologists, they work for them big companies. If they can study us to sell us stuff, they can study us in detail, right, and help out. Overnight, drugs went from this dirty, low-down dope dealers and users to what is it now? It's a sickness. And when you see a dope, just a person involved in dope, all the movies are saying it, everything. Just give them a big hug, basically, right? What about me and you? Was they saying that 5 years ago? No. Put them in jail. Lock them up and throw away. Good God Almighty. Hey, man, advertisement. A lot of this is we can do what we want, and we can affect it with good old, not good old time, modern advertising, where the people you advertise to know that the people is putting this message out is trying to help you. They ain't trying to slick you or trick you. And so we can have a liberal drug policy, all adult. Another thing it do, it prevents global lockdown. The police, like, remember, we got to have a good society. People have to be good, or they'll be in a jail. Why? It's too much high-tech stuff. It's too much ability now for a dirty bomb, right? You can collect some material, put it in a fire, and put it on a fan, and blow it over and kill everybody in 10 blocks. Easy. It ain't no... All that stuff is available. So we got to have a good society, or like I told FBI, years ago, I said, hey man, I don't want to live in a society y'all that's hooking up. I use the term global lockdown. We have to be on lockup. If we follow what you guys are doing, everybody, you can't have no freedom, because any freedom people can run da-da-da-da-da. So you have to gonna spy on everybody, you're gonna have everybody in handcuffs. You can't have no freedom hardly. You can't have it because it's too much ability. So you have to have it just like when everybody had guns in their house, and most of the killings was accidental. The kids found their daddy's gun, and they, on all the movies, they shot the guy, then they catch up. So they knew he'd get up and walk away, probably. So they shot the poor little friend and killed him. My friends, a lot of, the only deaths I knew you know, in the 50s, early 50s, like was when the kids found their daddy's gun and shot their friend. Yeah, they shot their friend because after all, you probably never saw them old westerns. They used to shoot the gun out of people's hand and stuff like that. It wasn't as gory as it is now. But anyway.
Rarely did you, I don't think you ever saw blood.
No, not that. It wasn't blood. It was like, this is just a play, a theater. You know what I mean?
Right.
But now people get blue. They got a chain on a guy. They blow him up and it blows him across the street. And, you know, and blood, they shoot everybody. Point blank and splatter blood. It's gory. It's unnecessary. Anyway, okay. So, all these periods of panic that we're living through, we say that's in relation to human evolution. The human being is evolving, or should be evolving. Therefore, our environment should be evolving. In fact, in some of the writings, we made a statement that they make in other literature about. In some cases, great people influence great events, and they make great events. Sometimes great events make great people. You know what I mean? During the war, whether it was Churchill, Stalin, and Roosevelt, and Hitler, and all of those people, those were serious events. Sometimes it was because the people produced great events, and those great events had to produce Douglas MacArthur. They had to produce Eisenhower, because this is the global event, and so sometimes events. Now, where we're coming from is we have a global situation, so we have to evolve ourselves in order to deal with that the way it is. Okay. So all of a sudden, we done jumped way past science fiction management and all that. We was waiting, we were going to talk about science fiction. It's not that that's not important.